Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thank y'all for showing up on this beautiful morning. And we got a lot of, as they say in Georgia, business to do. So we're gonna get to it. Councilman Allred will offer our invitation this morning, and then we will stand for the pledge of allegiance.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we pray your blessing on this meeting and all that participate. Help us to carefully consider each new idea, cautiously weighing each decision for the impact it may have on us all. Help us to focus on the greater good without concern for personal agendas. And help us to conduct ourselves in a manner that would be pleasing to you and bring respect to our city. Father, we thank you for your presence in our lives, and we thank you for your presence in our community. For without you, we are helpless. In the name of our Christ Jesus, our Redeemer and our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I pledge allegiance
To the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For your invitation. Let's go on to our next item on the agenda. That's to approve the minutes from the June 26th workshop and regular council meeting. I know you all have had a chance to review them. I will need a motion to approve the minutes from a workshop session and special call council meeting. Thank you, Dan. Second. Thank you, Bruce. Discussion.
Madam Mayor, we've been over both sets of minutes. The minutes of the meeting, I think, are fine to approve. The minutes of the workshop, this is where we got Jolie Mixon's audit report. And, you know, I appreciate it's difficult to follow all that discussion. We're flipping from one part of the presentation to another and trying to understand at the same time. But the minutes include a synopsis. And I have a little difficulty with the first 4 sentences in the synopsis. I think that the one issue was that we were over budget by a little bit, and so we're going to correct that today. And our revenues had exceeded our expectations, so we were more than covered by that. And I think that's what the first sentence should be saying. The next 2 sentences deal with the self-sufficiency in general fund, which makes it sound like there's a problem. Our self-sufficiency is 32.7%. I assume that means that, you know, some portion of revenue offsets that much of our expenses. But since it's the general fund that's funded by taxes, I don't think that's a problem, but it sounds like it's a problem here. And I'd either like to correct it and understand it better or have the minutes reflect.
How would you like the minutes to read, Jim?
I would think we could probably just eliminate those 2 sentences.
Which number, Jim?
It's the second and third sentence in the synopsis in paragraph 3. And the 4th sentence deals with the enterprise financial obligations. That is, we've got a loan to do our water system some long time ago, and we've been paying it off. And but our obligations are 5% of something. I assume it's the total budget. But yeah, I don't particularly illuminating, and we could put it in there in a way that, you know, we understand that only 5% of our are to repay the bonds. Again, interesting, but I'd just like it to be a little clearer. So I would amend the motion to say that we should take another look at this next month.
To reflect what the written report indicates?
Yes.
Okay. What feel ye, council members?
I'm sorry.
What do you all think about his discussion?
I think it's an interesting question. I want to make sure that it's correct, and we could approve this with a caveat that we review that to make certain that it's correct.
That's fine.
Bill, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I think we need to, make sure that this is easy to understand. It's all good stuff. It's just a little confusing, like Jim said. So, we want to get it changed. We need to give it a little thought and make sure that it's written so that anybody reading this can clearly understand what it's saying.
At the time of this meeting, we also know that we did not have the final audit.
Right, that's correct.
So Karen, keeper of the minutes, what do we need to do? Just to approve the minutes with the review that we're going to match it with the final audit and make it easier to understand, or do we need to bring this back next time?
Well, at this time, when she was doing, this was the draft audit, so I took this as she presented it.
Right,
So like the handout that she gave
right.
had all this information on it. So this was just reflecting what she had presented to the council. And it was also, these numbers came off of the handout. So these are true and correct numbers. And like it says in there, that was just the draft audit. I mean, that was just the council work session, so. You have to go in and do whatever you suggest, if you want a little bit more clarification. But these are true and accurate numbers that came off of her handout.
Mr. Kidd, you want to fit in this?
I wasn't at the meeting, but the minutes should reflect what was said at the meeting. And, if there were updated numbers later on, then that should be reflected in minutes discussed at a different meeting.
Yeah. So leave them as they are and then do a update in another meeting.
Yes.
Is that agreeable with you all?
Yes.
That's fine.
Okay, so then the original motion stands to approve them as presented, and we've got a second. All in favor of approving these minutes, signify by aye.
Aye.
Okay, it was unanimous and the minutes are approved. Thank you all for your okay, next thing is to adopt our agenda, and we're gonna need to amend our agenda because we've got some business that came up after the agenda was established. So what I am asking is that we delete number 12, which indicates that executive session, that we don't need an executive session at this particular meeting. I want to change item 12 to consider approval of resolution to enter into a capital lease program through GMA to acquire a public works vehicle. And I want to add item 13 to consider approval of a resolution to declare city-owned property as surplus. So with that being said, I need a motion to adopt the amended agenda as I just declared.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Dan. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of adopting the amended agenda signify by aye.
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 Okay, that was an anonymous vote, so this amended agenda is adopted. All right, mayoral council remarks. I wanted to say a lot, but I'm gonna talk fast and hopefully move on. Our July 5th Independence Day was wonderful once again. And it was again a wonderful event because of all the people in Sky Valley who participated to make it thusly. I want to thank the special projects committee members who meet all year long to plan our events and set it all up. Y'all did a fabulous job bringing our city's event to a wonderful fruition. Want to thank the city employees that showed up and helped. This is their day off, and they still show up and help. And as it worked out, we needed them. We had a water leak and trees were down, and they just did a wonderful job. I want to thank, Jason Streetman, who went the 12th mile to make sure that our fireworks came off. That was an all-day event. And I think the fireworks were spectacular. Thank you, Jason. Fire Chief, I want to thank you for you and your team for everything you've done. You did the Hot Dog Cafe, bringing your equipment for everybody to see. We thank you. Thank you very much. Ken Sigler also made us some cornhole boards that for future city events, and we thank you very much for that also. Steve Mason and the club let us use a few of their utility carts so we could zoom around and get around and do what we needed to do. Isn't that right?
That's right.
Okay, Ken Walton and Debbie Palmer rode around with ice water, and it was a hot day. And they made, just from donations, they made over $600 for Sid Weber just by delivering water to everybody. So that was great. Thank you, Tony. As usual, a great MC at the grandstand. You did a fabulous job. I thank the lady, Daniela at Timeshares. They gave us all the food for the Hot Dog Cafe. So we appreciated that. Bruce Turner, Candy Cahulas, and Robert Smalley, thanks them for cleaning up our roadway into Sky Valley before that. And he found some interesting items. If you'd like to know what they are, talk to him after the meeting. Okay, so all our citizen volunteers, our city just did a fabulous job, and I think this is a great place to live.
Holly, before you go forward, also, I'd like to thank the Color Guard, Honor Guard. When we were planning this, there was some discussion that last year, this year's, these are gentlemen that have served and are senior members of the military, and it becomes more and more difficult and challenging every year, especially when it's hot. It's been hot the last couple Independence Days, but they agreed, they came forward, and I gotta tell you, it just gives me goosebumps to see those gentlemen lead the parade. So I just wanted to give kudos to those folks.
Thank you, Bruce. Anybody else?
One more set of kudos. I want to thank Megan for that absolutely wonderful article that you wrote about the 4th of July. I know everybody in Raven County knows we're up here, but it's nice to see the reminder that, and the way it came off was, wow, Sky Valley had a better celebration than Dillard did, than the Dillard House. So, you know,
Well,
great
some of that-
publicity.
some of that
Thank
wasn't your
you.
fault.
We appreciate that.
Thank you, Ben.
They got a redo.
Yeah. Anybody else say anything? All right, let's move on then. Our next item on the agenda is the city manager report. Jason, if you'll please present your city manager report at this time.
Madam Mayor, good morning, council, those in attendance, those maybe on Zoom. Not to echo the mayor, but I thank everybody for the Independence Day event. It was a long day. It was a lot of chaos behind the scenes, particularly with fireworks that did go off. Some of the issues that Dillard House had, we used that same vendor, but they came through and we were able to make it happen. And of course, they got their redo, as Councilman Turner said the night after. Specifically, I want to thank the staff, volunteers, police department, public works, Sharon and Summer, who's here, working up front. You know, again, a day off for many people. They came in, the volunteers. You know, I always say that the staff can make an event good, but it's the volunteers that make it great. So, and as we get closer to Fall Fest, if anybody's interested in volunteering, please reach out. And as the mayor said, the fireworks, we were told that it was the best that we've ever had. And they were well received. If anybody has been around the past few weeks, you probably noticed that we've paved several roads. We've also restriped some of these roads, and we're certainly looking at some other paving later in the year. However, what we had allocated for budgeting, we just about exhausted that, about $600,000 in paving. But I want to thank the T-Splosh and the LMIG funding that we received, in that the paving that we've done, the restriping, those funds paid for this without having to go into the general fund or the local property taxes. So, again, we were also very supportive in that we received supplemental LMIG funding. So some of the extra paving that we've done, that covered that. Speaking of LMIG, I recently, it's hard to believe, but I received the application for the 25 project cycle, budget year 25. We will begin applying for those funds very soon. We should receive about $40,000 for next year. So again, GDOT LMIG, I can't thank them enough. We've over the past couple of years, we've got about $350,000 in LMIG money and supplemental LMIG money, AAA money. We will soon begin repair work, I believe, next week to repair Covered Bridge Road. That's off Ridgepole to the Big Rock. There's been some separation down there, and the structural integrity of that road is compromised. We are in the process of informing the residents. There's probably about a half a dozen residents that will be impacted by that road. And we will need to close it for 2 or 3 days. But repairs can't wait any longer. So we've got a competent contractor to help us do that.
Jason, this will just do one lane at a time so these people can.
We hope to, Mayor. We do have those, metal plates that involved that we can kind of do. If at all possible, we will do one lane at a time, but there may be some times that both sides may be closed just for what they've got going on. You've got utilities and stuff down there like you have to work around like we do with other things. But again, we are getting the word out. I know I talked with one of the residents that's a school teacher who's about to start back school, and I let her know personally that, and she said that she would try to park above there. And we in fact, we mentioned that we're gonna talk with the police to let them know that they see some cars parked along the side of the road. Those are residents who are parking above the work, so they can come and go as need to. So, it doesn't affect a lot of residents, but it is an important project, needs to be done, so I want to get that out there again. And again, we will, notices will go forthcoming, door hangers, et cetera. Recently received the 2024 consolidation report from the county tax commissioner. 24 taxes that we'll use to create a 25 budget. I'm sure many of you probably have seen your value statements come in the mail. Values, no surprise, continue to go up. We're looking at those numbers, have a very basic draft budget already for 2025, and we'll be bringing those numbers before you all. And we may even look at maybe doing another planning retreat like we did in springtime to talk about the budget and some of the projects, but that'll be coming over the next few weeks. City financials, I've given y'all's bond report. In a nutshell, for this time of year, we should be close to 60% in our expenditures. We're about 68%. A lot of that has to do with a lot of our upfront expenditures we do every year, our workers' comp and other things. It's very expensive. It hits the budget early in the year. Put that in real dollars. Our general fund budget for this year is 1.5 million. It's been a little bit over $1 million, where we should be about 850,000. That should settle down, and it is starting to settle down as we get later in the year. So I'm not too concerned this time. And on the revenue side of that $1.5 million, we've taken in not quite 1.6 in revenue. So just like last year in the audit that we just talked about, we know that expenditures are ever increasing, but on the revenue side, we've been able to outpace that and then some. So just wanted to share that as well. And I do anticipate revenue to continue to be strong for the rest of this year. In terms of, there are a few property taxes and penalties that will be coming every day. Our franchise, our insurance taxes, our license, fines, forfeitures, and interest revenues. So, that concludes my report there. If anybody has any questions, I
Council,
will do my absolute best to answer.
Jason, I have a question. Are these posted?
We can post those, I mean, they're available if anybody wants to inspect those, but, those are just through our software, our accounting software. That's just a report that we can present, but, they change so much, but, if anybody ever wants to know what our financials are, they can just do an ORR.
I had a gentleman in church ask me, budget questions, and I said, a lot of this is posted.
Yeah.
But is this for public consumption?
It can be.
Yeah. Okay.
If anybody wants, and from time to time, we do get requests from people that wanna know, just like, we just got, as Karen said, we were working off the draft audit. We did receive the final audit, I think yesterday maybe, so we'll be getting that posted online for inspection, but yeah, we do try to make sure everything is as transparent as possible.
all right, any other questions from the council? All right, questions or comments from the meeting participants? All right, we're gonna move on to our departmental reports. Jason, if
Yeah,
you'll please introduce your department head, so we'll give the report.
Jerry apologized. They've had, as you all probably know, we had a water break on Richboro yesterday. There was some residual work they're having to do today, and so he's got, his guys spread kind of thin. They're working on a couple projects. And he said he really needed to be with him today, so, most of just, they're continuing to do the things they do every day, their program of work, culverts, ditches, never ending. And so, again, he apologized, and I'll let Jim Pyburn, our building official, come forward and do his piece, and I'm sure the,
I appreciate the Public Works report that goes out to the public as to what they're really.
yeah, I don't think they've done that for this week. That's something we started it. We started that many months ago, but I think, people like to know what's going on, and
Of course, emergencies supersede that, but I think that was a great idea. Mr. Marshall,
Good morning, everybody. In June, I issued 2 warning citations, due to some concerns some residents had about high weeds and grass at some properties. I have to report that both of those were resolved without having to take any further action. In July, we received a complaint, just one of them just last week, about the same situation over on Sugar Bush. And I just found out last night that this one was taken care of, so people are being pretty responsive. Again, there's an ordinance against letting your weeds and grass get too high, but I mean, we do live in the forest, and a lot of the seasonal people are not here, so it's kind of hard to keep track of some of these, but especially whenever we have some concerns voiced by residents that call into City Hall and it's referred down to me, we try and take care of it immediately. I got an update on the house that burned in September of 2022 over on Rebel Circle. It is now on its 3rd owner. This one is not an investor. This is a gentleman with a family. In fact, I'm meeting with him day after tomorrow to already go over an inspection on a new HVAC system and some water. So he says that, he's in it for the long haul. He lives down north of Atlanta. And he's excited about becoming a member of the community here. I issued 1 certificate of occupancy on Bayberry in the month of June. For a new construction up there that's been completed. We have construction moving forward on 5 homes that have been under construction in various stages, some of them going back over 1.5 years. One on Schaumburg, one on Richfield, one on Evergreen, one on Knob, and one on Cedar. The one on Cedar is actually going to commence in another week. On top of that, there's 3 new home construction permits pending as soon as we get all of the paperwork. One on LaBelle, one on Saddleback Circle, and one on Wildbird. So things are really starting to heat up.
I'm sorry, where, Jim?
LaBelle Circle, Saddleback, and Wildbird.
Got it, thank you.
In June, 16 building permits were issued. 4 tree cutting permits were issued in May, 19 in June. So a big jump there. A total of 20 permits were issued in May of 2024 versus 15 in 2023. In June, there were 2 code and ordinance violations that I cited, and we collected $400 on those. And right now, we have a 1 code and ordinance violation pending for our tree clip. There were more trees than cut than were applied for on the permit, so that's pending, and I should be issuing that in the next couple of days. That's it.
Thank you.
I got a question, and this may be somewhere between your purview and Public Works. Right around town, we have, to say the least, a lot of blind spots and blind corners. And some of the mirrors either are broken or are dirty or maybe needed to be added in certain areas as we get more and more people. Just a thought.
Thank you, Jason, can add to that.
Councilman, we recently bought about a half a dozen of these mirrors. Public Works I was hoping they're gonna do that last week, but we'll make sure they get installed this week. There are several places, there's, down Evergreen on Alex Mountain Road, the Center Ridge Pole, there's several places that need these mirrors. And we have purchased those and they should be getting installed very soon.
Thanks, Jason.
Any other comments from the council?
I have a question for
Sure.
Jason. I don't know if it's true or not, but I have the impression that we're having a lot of breaks in the water system, more than it seems like it happens about once a month. I don't know if we're keeping statistics on how often this happens. I don't know if the employee time sheets show what they spend their time doing. But I wonder if there's an issue with these PVC pipes that we use.
Yes, and yes.
Okay,
The age of the system, many of this piping was put in the ground, and I wish Cody and Jerry were here, and I'll try to paraphrase it, but 40-plus-year-old pipe, a lot of that piping is antiquated. We do replace it as breaks happen. With the water pressure that we have in the city, that causes issues. And sometimes, in simple terms, breaks create breaks, because when you have, that causes imbalances in pressures, spikes in pressures. And again, another thing, I hate to use this word, but it fits, deferred maintenance. For years, nothing was being done. And now we're kind of taking the bull by the horns. And as with the water mapping that we've done, we're realizing what we have, but we're having growth that puts strain on the system. As Jim just said, we've got new houses under construction. There's indicators that we're gonna see a significant amount of development coming down the pipeline in the next 18 to 36 months. And I suspect that's an additional, but we are, every day, if you look at WSB, there's a city somewhere that's dealing with a water main break. It happens, and it's cyclic. There will be times that we won't have a break for 2 months, and then we have 3 in 1 month, but you are probably right, it averages out about once a month. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen at 11 o'clock on a Tuesday. It happens at 4 o'clock on a Friday or a Saturday, and I know it's a major inconvenience to get that. Being a utility, and I wanna just give kudos to our guys. It's not like if it happens at 4 o'clock on a Friday, well, we get off at 4:30, we'll deal with that Monday. No, you've gotta stay in there, and get it fixed, whether, if they're here at 4 o'clock on Saturday morning, but we are upgrading. Typically, as it breaks, we're putting in the newest stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of things that causes breaks. Breaks generate breaks, but, it does reflect on time sheets, obviously, if they stay late. They have to, particularly if they get overtime, you know, that's reflected, that's part of what we have to account for. But it is frustrating, but it is a fact of life of having a water. I don't know if I've answered your question, but those are factors that kind of come into play as far as what we're dealing with. And a lot of what we do is proactive. You know, if we see something, if they open up the hole, if we see something that may cause an issue, we'll fix it. Because the last thing we want to do is come in and dig that hole out again. So, again, we do want to just thank the citizens for their patience. I know we had a major break. I think there's a boil water advisory that's going to be forthcoming. Again, that's an advisory. We test that out. That water sample does go get tested at the state lab. But you know, it is an advisory, and again, I know that upsets people, but for transparency that we do that, so.
Okay, good, thank you. You did answer my question.
Okay.
The only follow-on would be, we're planning a sewer system for the valley now. And I'm just wondering if we can do that with, you know, piping that is less prone to this sort of thing.
We will certainly, you know, I know we're gonna talk about that in some of these other action items here in the agenda, but we can certainly, the engineering firm, again, there may be some opportunities as we're running those lines parallel or similarly where our existing water lines, if we see issues, we'll fix it then, but it should get the latest, greatest stuff. Kind of simplify the terminology there, so,
That's what we should do.
I would also like to point out that now that the water mapping is done.
Yeah.
As we're going through paving and things of that nature, we have the opportunity to determine before paving, does one of those old water lines cross a road somewhere that we're gonna be working on, and be able to get that done prior to putting down new pavement. Cut it out later.
we've done that as well as some culvert replacement, you know, we replaced several. One of the delays on the ridge pole, but it delayed a couple of weeks, was we had identified a couple of culverts that needed to be replaced, so it made sense to go ahead and cut the existing pavement, do all that work before we put the fresh pavement down, so yeah.
Well, good, I'm glad we're doing things right.
Trying to.
And also the council is approving purchasing equipment for public works to make their repairs more efficient and safe. I can't remember the name of the piece of equipment we purchased that would take out the water out of the ditch quickly.
And again, speak for Jerry and his guys, they are so appreciative of the commitment that this council has made, Mayor Council. Much needed equipment. Thank goodness we've had funding mechanisms like the T-Splosh and things that can help purchase equipment as well as offset some of the general fund and that comes out of other funds. But again, city's growing. The hydrovac is what.
That's what I said, yeah.
One of our employees, I don't want to take up too much time, I know the meeting's going on, but one of our employees got shocked, electrical shocked, about a year or so ago, down in the hole. And the hydrovac, it uses pressurized water. And it's amazing how it can cut the ground, but it doesn't cut the other lines. But it creates a cleaner hole, you kind of know what you're dealing with. And from a safety, and it saves times too, and also it has a vac that as that slurry mud, it sucks that out of the hole as well. And then that can be cleaned out. Yeah, it makes for cleaner holes and efficiency and safety. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you, sir. All right, I've asked our police chief, Mr. Estes, to talk to us about the annual personal transport vehicle, also known as golf carts, inspections and certification process, and his new upcoming Life's Adventure which will mean his July 31st resignation. So take it away, Chief Estes.
Well, we've been doing quite a good bit of golf cart inspections as people are returning to the city. We're doing them, so we're having to answer the same questions 1,000 times. People just weren't paying attention to the new ordinance and are aware, so we have to repeat ourselves constantly on that. But we've had a couple of days down at the club where we've done multiple carts, but most of the time, it's when they arrive here is the first time they've heard of it. So we're dealing with that, so we're still going to residents regularly and doing those. We've had a couple of people have kind of voiced disdain with this, especially, well, my current permit don't expire till next year. Why do I have to have a new one now? Well, the law changed. So, but other than that, everybody seems to be in agreement on that and everything, and we've not had any major issues. Ron, have we had anybody that had any equipment that they challenged us with? No, the only question we've had on the equipment was over a reflector and then the size of the triangle required by the state to put on the back. So other than that, that process is going good. Give you a quick rundown of January 1 to today of what we've been doing here in town. Don't get alarmed because some of these numbers are 100 to 150% increase of what we've had in the past. Keep in mind, over the past few years, Sky Valley has came out of its shell and we've been inviting people into our community. We've had a lot of dynamics change in town, a lot of new visitors that never were here before. So with that comes different numbers. So don't panic, it's just a reflection of what's going on in our town. On our end, we see different people at houses from week to week. And sometimes different things happen, but it's nothing to be alarmed over, it's to be expected. For example, I'll give you the highlights of the numbers some of these we never had at all. For example, like civil litigation courses, which means something that happens in town, a civil dispute that's not a criminal case, that's gonna wind up probably before a court somewhere down the road. This year, we've had about 6 or 8 of those type of investigations. That pretty much all we do is facilitate the paperwork and then them and their attorneys will handle that elsewhere. We've had a good bit of that we used to never have. Ordinances, we do reports on ordinance violations and things of that nature. We've had about 50 of those this year that we've had to document with criminal reports. So that just to get the documentation there. Some of this is just for like your insurance, for example, won't cover something if there's not an incident report on it. So that's why these numbers seem kind of high, is because, well, people are required to prove that it happened, thus the reports are being made. Traffic stops up to this point, we're close to 300 traffic stops for the year. We've issued about 250 of those as citations and about close to between 60 and 80 of those as warning citations. We've had a few protective orders come in, basically restraining orders, for those of you who are familiar with those. Stay off my property. We used to have the old criminal trespass. So they're all under the protective order thing. Now we have to document that and report that. Our business checks and residential checks, we're up to close to 2,000 for the year. When I first got here, we had about 15 to 20 houses on our everyday checklist. We have over 100 now. And there's only one officer on shift at a time. So we're splitting that up, 50 for the day shift officer, 50 for the night shift officer. Because just simple math, if there's over 100, you have to check every day. Plus your call volume and everything else that you're doing, but that's increased a lot. We still do our community reach out, our community policing efforts, where officers try to make contact with people you see walking down the side of the road, you're working in your yard. We're averaging around 100 of those right now for the year that was just self-initiated stop. Hey, how you doing? And we've started documenting those as well. Criminal reports for the year are close to 100 for the year of criminal activity that we've had to document and report. Most of which would be things like theft or criminal trespass or damage to property, things of that nature. But it does include other things. We've had an increase in domestic violence, several arrests, several DUIs. We've had neighbor disputes that turn into physical encounters, people getting drunk at the swimming pool, fighting, things of that nature. So all of that kind of goes into that same category. We're up close to 100 of those up to this point for the year. Many of these categories were zeros when I got here, unless you went back to the days of the old ski lodge. And apparently it was quite the place to be back then. But you know, man, people plus alcohol equals usually police statistics. But it's nothing this is nothing outside the realm of what's being expected for us to expect with the increase of people that we've had. And we get multiple calls to places and it's different people each time we get there. Our most common complaints inside our city is usually people coming around the curve in the middle of the road. And these are people who've never been in the mountains before. They don't know, slow down and keep to the right. Because maybe a trash truck or a dump truck coming around the road. We do get a lot of those complaints still, but you know, you're in the mountains. I mean, that's part of that. So yeah, the Sky Valley dynamics have changed a little bit over the years. It's nothing to panic over because we see an increase across the board, which is kind of correlated with the increase of people here. That's to be expected. Currently inside the department right now, us, along with Summer here, our RMS, report management system, is going through a major upgrade to maintain state and federal compliance. They're changing all of the computer reporting and everything. And our company was always called Courtware. They have enlarged and merged, and now they're called Justice One. So their infrastructure is changing, which trickles down to our infrastructure must change to be compliant, to use the system to do all of your state and federal reporting, which we got ahead of that earlier in the year. You remember we got that $10,000 grant from GACP, Georgia Association of Chiefs of Police. We got that $10,000 so that we could purchase the necessary computer hardware to operate within their new infrastructure. So we're ready to go. Right now, we're just waiting on them to turn the key on. That should be, that's the October, November, when you remember when they're actually gonna turn that whole system on? This fall, right? Yeah, we don't have a definite date, but it will be this fall. And but we're ahead of it. We're ready. We're waiting on them. So we're kind of playing that game right now. That covers everything from warrants to tickets to reports to the databases of anytime we run someone's driver's license and enter that information. All of that is reported to state, local, federal levels, and that's the type of system we're talking about.
Ron, what was the name of that new system?
It's called Justice One. They purchased Courtware, which we've used for, how many years have we used Courtware? Years. Yeah, probably 8, 10 years. We hired a part-time officer, Officer Justin Cook, who was formerly with Rankin County Sheriff's Department, but he left them about a year ago and went to North Georgia Technical College as a police officer. He's a great pickup for us. He lives here locally. He, not in Sky Valley, but he lives in the area and he knows this area because when he worked with the Sheriff's Department, he was assigned to this area. So he helped us on a regular basis. So he's familiar with us. He reached out, wanted to come on board part-time. He's a great pickup for us. He has his associate's, bachelor's, and master's degree in criminal justice. He's also a certified law enforcement instructor, which as of this time, I'm the only one we have in the department. So it will be great to fill that void whenever I go and he comes in. He'll be a great pickup for that.
What has he told, said his name was Justin?
Justin
Okay.
Cook. Yeah, some of you may have seen him when he was with the Sheriff's Department, because some of our major accidents that we had, he usually was the one from the Sheriff's Department that would come up and help us. And he would usually volunteer to come up to help us. So that was that. Just a little FYI for everyone who's not keeping up with stuff that's going on down in Atlanta. The governor signed the bill not too long ago. I think we mentioned this was going to happen, but now it's official. as you all know, we write a lot of tickets right there for school bus violations. Well, historically, they've always been a $500 ticket. Well, now they're $1,000 ticket because they had several children killed at bus stops this past year. So the governor signed it into law that now that will be a $1,000 ticket. So that will be going into, so school's about to start in the fall. So, for example, we wrote, what, 15, 20 tickets out there, $500 a pop. Well, now they're 1,000, so that'll be $15,000 or $20,000 right there coming into the city coffers. But the important thing is we have 3 bus stops in our town, and we have wrote tickets at all 3 of them. I don't know why people ignore the big yellow thing with the flashing lights and the stop signs, but they do. And they argue it, but just so you know, if people start asking, why is my ticket so high? The governor signed that into law. That is not a Sky Valley increase. That is a state of Georgia increase. Just a shout out for Ron for putting all this together. He keeps all of our data. He is the numbers guy. If we ever give you statistics or anything, it comes from Ron. Ron does it all. He's also our evidence custodian. People seem to be surprised that we have a need for such a thing, but we have a room full of evidence down there because we have to maintain items of evidentiary value until the court gambit has been ran. In other words, it's been finally adjudicated. We ran the course of their appeals. Then we can petition the district attorney to allow us to destroy stuff that we are not able to find people to return items to. So we have, and Ron maintains our evidence room. So he's been a huge asset. He's also, if you remember about a year and a half ago, Ron went to the state certification assessors classes. So he's also a state certification manager. Up to that point, I was the only one we had here. Ron now shares those duties, so he's up to speed on all that, and I can't tell you how much of a help he has been. Other than that, I guess that's really about the update on what the going ons at the department is going through right now with our changes and everything. Does anybody have any questions? Yes, sir.
I got a question. I know it's been an item we've discussed in the past. Is the light, the flashing light that comes at, when we're coming out of the front gate? And the timing, and it's in North Carolina, and I know we have to communicate. But Saturday, I pulled out of there when it was no color in there.
It wasn't flashing.
And I had a car coming from both directions on me, just like that. I mean, is it something that we can move those sensors, or we can talk to Macon County and move those sensors further out so that because I know they're based on what, 45 miles an hour. They had to be going faster because there was no light on when I pulled out, and I had 2 cars on me right away.
We have requested that, like you remember, many times over the years, and the answer that Macon County has nothing to do with it. It's North Carolina Department of Transportation, kind of like Georgia Department of Transportation does this route.
Mm-hmm.
And they do exactly as you said. They have it calculated where if you're doing the speed limit, you trigger it, that should give them ample time. The problem is no one does the speed limit. They're all doing 10 and 15 over. And if I trigger that light doing 15 over, I'm gonna broadside you in both directions. We've pointed it out multiple times. They don't care. They don't listen to us. It's not our state. And that's pretty much the attitude we get every time. And to make matters worse is when there is a wreck there, who do you think they call? They call us. They call the fire department to come. And every time it happens, that happens. And well, this is the problem. This is what's creating. They don't care.
And there's no visual
No.
barrier pretty much either way.
Exactly.
Or there is a visual barrier both ways.
Yes, and we're aware of the problem, and all we can do is tell people, and the other problem people have is right here, like, one of the most popular questions we get asked is, what's the speed limit? Because there's 2 signs, one says 45, one says 55. What's the speed limit? Well, when you read the sign, it says speed limit is unless otherwise posted, so it's otherwise posted. Why they put both signs up, I don't know either, but we've asked them, you know, for confusion, would you, no, they don't care. It's not our state, they don't care. So that's kind of how we're treated. You know, don't call us, we'll call you. That's kind of the thing with when dealing with North Carolina. We have expressed our concerns to the sheriff of Macon County, who basically says the same thing, hey, that's the state. They don't listen to him.
Well, let me ask you, right at the junction there, now that there's leaves on the trees, can we as not even a city, but somebody go up there and trim that back so that we can see? Because you almost have to stay back about 30 feet so you can see, because once you're up on 106 or 246, you're at the mercy, but there's a lot of trees going up north. Are we legally allowed to do those, or?
That is their right of way, so
Well,
it's
is it
their
the
property.
vineyard? Could we talk to the vineyard people? Who owns that, or is it Gladys own that?
It's North Carolina.
Well, you know, when you're pulling up to the stop sign, if you remember, the edge of that road had crumbled off to where it was this deep in places.
Mhm.
We went as far as, we carried a yardstick up there and measured the depths and sent them the photographs to please come fill this in. It took them 2 years to do that.
I can, if I'm not interject, but there has been a couple of times, and we work off the notion of forgiveness versus permission. But I have had guys, you know, spray weed killer and stuff along that bank, if you're looking south, back towards Sky Valley. I know that they're trying to improve sight distance. But it's, as the chief says, it's a lot of times you either have to, we at least on Gulfport side, we're working on forgiveness for permission, because if you wait for them to do stuff, but we do as minimal as we can. Usually it's a little weed killer out, we do a little trimming when we can, but we know the frustration.
Years ago, you may remember this, do you remember when the big tree up there fell and stayed halfway across the road forever?
Oh, yeah.
Well, our public works director at that time was James Holbrooks, who contacted them and said, hey, look, my guys, we can cut and remove this. And they said, well, if you do, the liability's on you if something happens. So anything we do up there, if they're cutting it and a rock shoots out and busts a window, liability's on us, because they're not granting us permission. Hey, like you said, forgiveness versus permission, but if something happens, they're just gonna point and say, we didn't tell you you could do that. So we're kind of at their mercy.
Very good, thanks.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Any other questions, comments? Okay, well, thank you.
Well, talk about where you're going.
Well, at the end of the month, I will be leaving to take another job that hopefully will be better for me and my family in the future. And I appreciate my time here with the citizens of Sky Valley that have made some good friends for life. And when I first got here, it was a lot of the people that were here, as you all know, are no longer with us. Many of them have passed and moved on for other reasons or whatever. And I've been endeared to the community through those years with people in that, especially in the twilight of some of them's lives, being able to share that with them whenever they were here alone. And that's been great. And I know Ron, especially whenever I first came here, gosh, back then we were taking med calls to some of our residents almost on a daily basis, getting them off the floors and things of that nature. And now a lot of the people are gone. And so when I leave, I'll be carrying them and their memories with me. I appreciate it.
Where'd you head to?
I'm gonna be moving to South Dakota.
Yeah. Taking your fly rod? Taking your fly rod?
Probably not. But there's a lot of pheasant out there.
Yeah.
Well, Chief,
Yes.
sincere best wishes.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Here.
Thank you for all your years of service.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. And the people here have been very sweet and kind to me, and it was a good way to experience what I had not experienced in 20 years. And that was to be able to work in a community where you could serve the people And that's what my fulfillment had been here over the years, was being able to help people. I mean, you can train a drone basically to get out here and write tickets and just, you know, Barney Cochran, you know, Joe Friday, you know. Anybody can do that, but it takes the next level of connecting with the people and dealing with the people, befriending them and dealing with them and helping them through some of their most difficult times in their lives, and especially as that winds down. So it's been a great experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we have our committee reports. Dan, would you like to give a brief report of what the Planning and Zoning Commission is up to these days?
Certainly. Planning and zoning is meeting 1 week from today, 1 o'clock in the afternoon. We've got 2 items on the agenda, one being everyone's favorite, the tree ordinance. We're doing some tweaking there. Nothing monumental, but we're trying to resolve some issues that have cropped up here in the last several months. The other is that we're looking at adding an ordinance for solar arrays. Trying to get ahead of that whole situation, as people are going to want to start putting solar panels on their roofs or cutting down trees along next to their house to put a ground mounted solar array. So we're looking at that just to get ahead of it. That's what we'll be dealing with next Tuesday.
Okay. Thank you, Diane. Gordon, if you'll give us a marketing committee report.
Good morning. I guess first thing was to update you with Doug Hollingsworth, he's the marketing committee in terms of the golf center. Doug arranged to have a media writer, I call him Len Zion, I hope that's incorrect, and photographer Joy Sarver visit Sky Valley June the 21st and the 22nd. And this big event, Len, I don't know if you know Len was a very accomplished writer, golf writer, and spent most of his career in Chicago. In the last 15 years, he moved to Florida and he now does a combination of golf writing and then areas where you vacation, a combination of the two. When I talked to Len ahead of time, I says, what are you looking for? He says, I'm looking for this year 2024 area communities where they have great golf, but also looking for other activities. He says, this is what we're trying to look at. What else does the community have to offer besides golf? And he said, this seems to be the trend, great courses, but people want to do other things. And I said, well, you're going to be at the right place. Again, talking about it, what I'm going to share with you today is after Glenn's visit, he wrote an article, and what I want to do is hand it out to you, and then we'll have it on the.
It's up there. It's up there for
It's up there, great. And I'll get each of you a copy of it. When you look at this, and you can see it over here, Glenn is saying, Glenn, Mountain Golf makes for 2 sports stories of Georgia Sky Valley. That's interesting. If you look at golf and golf croquet thrive together in Sky Valley. If you move over. Okay, then, Sky Valley, Georgia. This is not a report on your traditional golf travel destination. Sky Valley Country Club is the Blue Ridge Mountain at an elevation of 3297, is the highest and northernmost course in Georgia. The location is in Prospero, Georgia Golf Trail layout, which is justified as itself as the Georgia's highest and coolest and Georgia's summer retreat. We're always talking about our marketing. We're the only club in our range that's open to the public and open to year round, said Ryan Du Bois, the club's general manager. All but 2 of the others are completely private. They're closed between November 1st and April 1st. We had people playing in January, which we're always trying to say. The temperatures were on the high side, temperature high side 80s, but this area during our visit. Sky Valley attracts plenty of visitors anxious to escape the heart of the nearby, heat of the nearby states, particularly Florida. It's also 2.5 hour drive from Atlanta, so that area provides large numbers of visitors as well. I can just say, I drove in this morning looking at Atlanta and 95, 98, it's just an absolute treat to come up here to see the temperature difference. One minor drawback though, the location of Sky Valley, the name of the club, as well as the city in which resides, is easy to pinpoint on maps. We're different. We straddle the North Carolina and Georgia state lines, said Du Bois. Our back 9 is in Georgia, which I didn't know, but a couple of the holes are in the front 9 are in North Carolina. I didn't know that myself, something unique. Anyway, Sky Valley is located between the towns of Clayton, Georgia, and Highlands, North Carolina. It's in Raven County, Georgia, and it's included in the Highlands Plateau area that includes Cashiers, North Carolina, which you're trying to talk about. Here's some of the wonderful photos that were taken at this time, and his partner, Joe Sarver, is in there. Finally, we're gonna say here, the Chapel Sky Valley Bell Tower plays music at regular intervals every day. There are plenty of trails for hiking and other outdoor recreational pursuits, including fly fishing, tennis, pickleball, and swimming. He's trying to put all the things we have besides snow. Lodging for the 100 people is available in private homes and condos and timeshares within the Sky Valley, and VRBO contributes another 60 rooms in Sky Valley inventory. Fine dining and shopping is available in Highlands, 12 miles away, and other communities. What we're saying here is, I think, Jim, you said it well, in terms of looking at the report from Market. What's your thoughts on this in terms of just as overall?
I think this is the best article that's ever been written about Sky Valley. And I think we ought to use it as much as we can in our marketing.
It's on our website, and I'm sure that Forward Raven has been given access to this too, so that's great. The pictures are, the photos are fabulous.
They really are.
Just a wonderful, wonderful job. And Doug says this has been reviewed in terms of overall, it'll be hundreds of thousands of people. Apparently, Len is big, and in terms of the numbers, he said this will be reviewed by hundreds of thousands of people in terms of the cost. The other part I want to talk about is wonderful articles. How did this happen? And I did want to share this, because this doesn't happen by itself. Yeah. There's a lot of things that go involved in this. And the first thing I want to thank the Martin involved in this visit. Let me just tell you just briefly what happened here, how we put it together. On Friday, June the 1st, June 21st at 3 p.m., they met at the visitor center here. And I have to say, our volunteers, Paul and Trudy, and myself and Fiona showed up and gave them a hearty welcome. And then Sharon, she did a wonderful job, kiosk, the kiosk itself and reviewing it. And then she gave them an area of goodie bag. Maybe you can tell us what's in a goodie bag.
We provided real estate information, t-shirts for each of them, a coffee mug. It was a pretty nice gift bag with just some mementos of Sky Valley, so they could take those with them.
And yes, Vance, in terms of marketing, you also give information about real estate, current real estate, so what's happening here. From there, then we checked in, say at 4:30, and you're saying this time, I have to say, Bill Theis. Bill provided 3 nights, a 2-bedroom condo, and again, no cost, of course, to us. And the media of joy, and then said, what a beautiful condo is on the lake, and they just claimed about how clean it was and how updated it was. So they were just the position in terms of the condo itself is beautiful. Just over and over, how things went with it. Then at 6 o'clock, we had dinner, and I want to get into, you say, what's so much dinner at the club? Club provided the dinner. And this is where we had some visitors here. And I knew, of course, Linda's from Chicago, and we have a few neighbors that are in Chicago. And I asked, of course, Gail at this time. Gail, you might just say a comment we had at the corner, a conversation we had a few others, how we got along. Of course, you have a connection with that.
What was she to translate
Right.
from Chicago to South?
Chicagoese, that's right.
We had some amazing discussions about it, so
Yeah.
they really got along very well. And they sent back me a note, says, well, thank you for, bringing people here, so that, in from the Midwest at this point and talking about it. So it was a wonderful evening, we had other people, so we really enjoyed it. They felt great about the people here. So, following morning at 9:30, just there's a lot that goes involved in this. 9:30, we had a tour of the Sky Valley Club, and in this case, Ryan Du Bois just didn't happen. He spent a half an hour going over the club, the history of the club. It was really good. You got to see it in the article. Then at 10 o'clock, there was a tour of Sky Valley. In this case, here, Tom and Jenny Smith provided the tour. We drove all around. You're gonna say, wow. And the first thing they did, they went up to Bill Gillespie, Ann Gillespie's place. You've been up there, it's incredible view and magnificent views. But more important, I didn't know, when Mill started, he's a real historian about this area, lived in this area. Mill went on talking about the history of Scott Valley and how it started. And first, down the second and third hole, he went on. It was just very, very valuable what he had to say. And of course, you got to see some of the comments that come from that. Then I asked a lot of questions about it, what they were truly looking for. They were more, what is in this community? What did they have to offer? So a lot of questions were asked about community, people and so forth. Then at 11:45, we went from, after the tour, took a tour of the croquet facilities. In this case here, Dale Fenwick did a wonderful job talking about Dale, and you got to see photos of it. They actually played, in the case here, a couple, I guess, one or two rounds, I don't know what they do in that area. Lunch, we had the Club Patio, and then at 1:30, they had a golf round. And in this case here, Len said it was a great course, it was in great condition. And then at 6 p.m., we went out, and then the welcome back party, in this case here, they met Grace Guest, and had a wonderful evening at their DOA. So that was the end of it. A lot goes into it, and there are comments over and over, well, gee, the people are so nice in Sky Valley. Of course, over and over, we get that same comment over again, oh, welcoming, and thank you for that. So I did want to say that, thank you for, people are involved in this thing, a lot of things, and I think the dollar amount of this case in terms of what this ad is, we'll see just what it does, the impact on it. Second part I want to talk about is the third GSGA Women's Golf Championship will take place in Sky Valley, October 28th, 29th. We'll be promoting it with goodie bags. Other community is the Sky Valley Visitor webpage. Sharon just does a wonderful job. You look at it, she keeps it up to date all the time. It's a great job. And the final is the Sky Valley budget. Our budget itself, we're in good shape. So in this case, but any questions? So, yeah, we appreciate the opportunity,
Cory, our hats off to you, because, I mean, I've been hearing about this for months. He never stops. You do such an amazing job, and we thank you.
Thanks, Gordon.
Thank you, Gordon. Special Projects Committee, Bruce, you need to say that?
Just briefly, as Holly mentioned earlier, we just finished up a couple of weeks ago in preparation for the Independence Day celebration, cleaning up from the front entrance to the junction, which the next day changed. But it's something we try to keep up with on a quarterly basis. It seems like that's a heavy area for trash, and it's North Carolina, isn't it, Chief? So it's a head scratcher, but we'll continue to maintain that. Also, and now that the Independence Day celebration's behind us, we're gonna start planning the Fall Fest, which is gonna be October 19th. So I'm gonna get with Sharon and Holly and see if we can't come to an agreement on a day, hopefully next week, where we can kick that off. And if not next week, definitely the following week, so we can get out in front of that. Typically, the biggest hurdles are vendors, because it's a popular time of year. It's the third week in October, and the leaves are usually peak, so we have a lot of competition. So that's usually our biggest challenge with Fall Fest. But we're gonna continue to push for it, and like I say, we're gonna see if we can get something done next week. We get an initial meeting and then see where we're at and plan meetings accordingly. And that's really all I have.
Thank you, Bruce. All right, let's move on to our agenda item 9, which is to consider the appointment of Jack Brandon as the Sky Valley Country Club's representative to the Sky Valley Marketing Committee. And we're sorry that Lynn and Tom Menard are moving out of the area, so we needed someone to take her place on the marketing committee, and he was chosen by the club to represent their interests. So I will need a motion to approve Jack Brandon as the club's representative to the marketing committee.
I move we add Jack Brandon.
Thank you, Jim. Second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Bruce. Discussion. All in favor of this appointment signify by aye.
Aye.
It was. Thank you, Bill. So the appointment was unanimously approved. All right, number 10, consider approval of the resolution to select and approve the services of a professional engineering firm as required by the GFA, which is the Georgia Environmental Finance Authority septic to sewer grant. And Jason, if you'll please explain the need for this resolution.
Madam Mayor, as you all, I'm sure a lot of citizens know, back in 2021, we received a $3 million septic to sewer conversion grant. Fairly competitive, very fortunate to get that. It's kind of been in a pause function here for the past couple of years. Now things have kind of worked out, where we're in a position to move forward for that. Part of the requirements for GFA is we did put out a request for proposals, duly advertised, I think the newspaper, the website, the Georgia. Three proposals from EMI, Engineering Management, Turnip Seed Engineers, and Keck and Wood Engineers. We graded those out. EMI scored the highest. One of the criteria is that knowledge and past experience with the city. Jerry Hood and his guys have done a lot of work. Rick Barrett on the water side. They did score the highest. The recommendation is that we do go with EMI. This allows the city to move forward with this, to hopefully start drawing on that grant and get this thing going. But the recommendation would be to go with EMI, Engineering Management. This resolution is just a box to check in basic terms to move this process up, moving forward. And so the recommendation would be by resolution, would be the council to formally say, let's go with EMI to do that. There's really no numbers associated with these proposals because it's been a moving target. However, from EMI, as well as others, we have a baseline understanding about what this is going to cost, which is probably going to be in that $4.5 to $6 million range. We're looking at some other grants as well to supplement that, but again, not to overstate, but this is just to allow us to continue moving forward with this.
Questions or comments from the council?
If I recall correctly, this grant is a one-time opportunity which will expire and the clock is running.
That is correct. 2000 really make a break for us. Hard deadlines, 2026. We met with these firms, Keck and Wood, Turnip Seed, EMI. I think EMI has the best understanding of, and they've assured us that if we keep this thing going, which is what we're doing, that we will meet those.
Jim, any questions or comments from the meeting participants? And if you'd like to say something, please, when you're recognized, state your name and your address. Okay, I will need a motion to approve the resolution to select and approve the services of Jerry Hood and his firm, Engineering Management, Inc., and as required by our GFA septic to sewer grant.
I will make that motion.
Thank you, Dan. Second?
Second.
Almost, Bill, you almost got it. All right, discussion. All in favor of approving this resolution, signify with aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The resolution is unanimously approved. Next item, consider approval of the IGA, which is an intergovernmental agreement with Reagan County for a $25 million SPLOST, which is the Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax Agreement for the November 2024 voter referendum. Jason and I have been attending negotiations with the Reagan County municipality officials and with Reagan County officials to establish agreement for this IGA document for the use and distribution of proceeds from the 2025 SPLOST, if it passes, for capital outlay projects. Jason will explain the negotiated agreement, which is based on population and the amount of proceeds Sky Valley will receive.
Madam Mayor, the current SPLOST is set to retire next year. The city got approximately $390,000 from that SPLOST. The difference between SPLOST, T-SPLOST is transportation. SPLOST, there's other uses that you can do. We bought police cars, did renovations, things like that. The SPLOST money, this SPLOST, 25 million, as the mayor said, based on population. The city and all of the city, other cities, Dillard, Clayton, Tiger, Toledo Falls, etc., Mountain City. The negotiation was a 72-28 split. What does that mean in terms of real dollars? The county has a tier 2 project, $5.5 million, which would basically be the firehouse is going to be built there at downtown Clayton, across from the Marathon and the Blue Dog, the barbecue restaurant. That will be a EMT as well as a fire station. It's supposed to be state of the art. Of course, the city will benefit from that as well as Red Mountain City, etc. You take that off the top, it leaves $19.5 million. That would be divvied out population. Through the negotiations, the original negotiation was basically 74-26, and the county would get 74%. Then the counties would get the remaining 26% based on population. We tried to go for a 70-30, kind of came to a stalemate. The final offer was basically 72-28. What does that mean? That means that the city of Sky Valley is getting about an extra $40,000 through that negotiation. I think $594,000 is what we would receive at the maturity of this. The projects that have been identified, again, you can use it for police cars, recreational. About 400,000 of that is earmarked to go towards road paving, because we are about halfway through the T-SPLOST. That has been a game changer. I know people probably get tired of hearing about that, but it has been amazing. There's no guarantee that will pass if it comes back before the end. So we are earmarking the lion's share of that funding towards road improvements, again, investing in the community. The other 194,000, I think 100,000 towards equipment, again, police cars, things like that. We're earmarking some money for recreational, I think 44,000. The pickleball court, we just spent $44,000. That might could go towards another pickleball court. And then $50,000 towards building renovations. All of our buildings, this building, Public Works, police station, as things need to be done. So we've tried to give some serious thought of how we want to use that money. But this agreement basically would be a 6-year IGA. And that this would basically, the vote would basically put this on in agreement with the other cities. It is my understanding all of the other cities, as well as the county, are having meetings this week. But we've got to have this before the election board, before the end of the month. This would put this on in November. As you know, we have our national election in November. But this would be allowed to go for referendum. In the past, it would generate funding for the city, which is always a great thing.
In addition, this IGA being a 6-year commitment, if the proceeds go over 25 million, which is just an estimate that they're guessing that this will raise, then the cities will also get additional funding as per our percentage of the overage, which could do well for us too. And let me also say that I thought it was interesting that the county, when they first started talking about T-SPLOST and SPLOST funding, had the University of Georgia do a study as to how we get this money. And they determined that 92 to 94% of the money that comes into this tax realm comes from people outside of Raven County. In other words, our tourists and our visitors. So that's a good thing, you know, that they're helping us keep up our cities by them visiting and paying taxes. And so
And
I
keeping
will,
our property taxes down.
and yeah, hopefully, yes.
Just one point of clarification,
Yeah.
Jason, I think you made a misstatement at the beginning. That firehouse is going in Dillard, not in Clayton.
Okay, well, it is, just for further clarification, it's gonna be right across the road from the Marathon gas station. I believe Dr. Pemberton's office is there at Betty's Creek, but there's a graded out lot, I think about 3 acres there. It's across the street from the existing Valley Fire Department, but the plan is that, again, that is a tier 2 project the county has identified. That comes off the top, so we're getting our percentage based on the 19.5 million, not the 25, but the other cities are as well, so.
Jason, when is that fire station gonna be built?
They're looking, Darren Giles, the county administrator, I don't want to speak on behalf of him, but if this passes, they're looking at either maybe bonding some of that to go ahead and get the ball rolling, or letting some of the proceeds, but the way the intergovernmental agreement is written is that the first 60% that comes in has to be earmarked for that project. So I would say that if this, and again, if this is passed in November, the existing SPLOST is not in until next summer. So we would not start seeing these funds until late 25, but I would hope that they would probably start late 25, early 26, building that firehouse. Again, if it passes, they might feel the need, knowing they've got those funds coming in, they might feel the need to go ahead and advance that. The volatility of building equipment going up and down, that's a decision they'll have to make. But obviously they do know they want to get that going as quickly as possible. And again, it will not only benefit Dillard, but it will benefit Sky Valley, Mountain City, as well as the whole north end of the county.
I guess the reason I ask is, you know, if and when they start widening 246, that's why I asked, is that gonna impede that, or I guess that's.
They'll have to work around that.
We were told the latest now broadcast of the date is they're gonna start doing that in September or October, just right for leaf peeping season, so who knows? Who knows?
Didn't they say that last year?
Yes, they did.
I believe
Any other comments or questions from council?
I just a question of clarification, because that, the local option sales tax is a 1% increase, is that correct?
Well, it would just be a continuation of the 1% we're already paying
Yeah,
now.
but it's 1%.
Yes.
Sales tax. Good. I just wanted to clarify that.
Except for you, Tony. It's too- Any other questions, comments?
My question would really be to Ken, the $5.5 million fire station down in Dillard. I'm guessing that's gonna be a big help in terms of backup to us.
Not really.
Not really?
It's across the street. It's 30 feet closer.
Oh, so it's just replacing the old one? No additional equipment?
What they're planning on doing and they're hiring now is they're gonna try to put a full-time firefighter, one firefighter there, 24 hours a day. So we'll get a fire truck a little bit quicker, but it's not gonna help. I don't need fire trucks, I got fire trucks. You know, it's really not gonna impact us that much at all. We are our own entity up here. We are very unique in not only providing service for 2 different counties, 2 different states, but our backup is 20 minutes away, no matter which way you go.
Okay.
So we we've got everything we need up here. It will be nice to have somebody down there, to bring extra equipment up if I need specialized equipment, you know, that's fine, but one guy 30 feet closer is really not gonna make a big impact here.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody in the county needs a new station more than Dillard, I'll tell you that.
Okay.
I mean, if you ever been in there, it looks like the Air Force rotated some ordnance. They've done very good with what they've got down there. There's literally 2 inches of space between the front door and the back bumper of the truck.
Oh, boy.
2 trucks, they have to put 2 trucks in one bay, and you can't walk in front of, so,
And
yeah,
this-
they need it.
This new, fire station is also gonna have a helipad, is that what we call it, a helicopter pad?
They'll
I
have
don't know if
those
that
in
means the
there.
helicopter's gonna be there all the time.
Doubtful.
Yeah, they don't, no, it's not a heli station, it's just it's a landing zone.
Okay.
We've got 2 here in Sky Valley.
Yeah.
So, and we've got LGs all over the place.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions?
In a way that feeds into my second question.
Okay,
You know, I'm always interested in the equity thing, because we've got a really low population according to the census, but we've got a couple of thousand people here spending money in the summer. Is that 3% the same as it has been, or is that an increase?
what 3%?
We get 3%, 3.05% of the proceeds of the.
That's an
plus.
increase over our last class. Last class, we got 139,000, and this is almost 600,000. So yes, sir, good question.
Thank you.
That was,
Thank you.
okay, all right, any comments or questions from our meeting participants? Okay, I'll need a motion to approve the IGA with Raven County for a $25 million SPOS agreement to be on the November 2024 referendum.
So moved.
Thank you, Jim. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Bruce. Discussion. Okay, all in favor of approving this intergovernmental agreement signify with aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Bill. This agreement is unanimously approved. All right, number 12, consider approval of the resolution to enter into a capital lease purchase through GMA, which is the Georgia Municipal Association, to acquire a public works vehicle. Take it away, Jason.
Madam Mayor, Council, this was added as an emergency addition to the meeting. In our 24 budget for this year, we actually budgeted money to actually do a capital purchase. Some of y'all are probably familiar with that. We most recently purchased a police car through this program. It is a program where you can get a competitive rate. We were trying to hold off on doing this as long as possible, even though it was budgeted. Number one, we were hoping prices would go down, inventories would go up. They really have not, particularly for specialized equipment. And in fact, I had the guys bring the existing unit here now. I'm kind of a visual person. If you look behind you, this truck here is, it's pretty rusted through and through. The hydraulic lift does not work. For it to work, you have to have one guy in the vehicle with his foot on the brake. The other guy, when I say guy, public work employee, has to manually get underneath the vehicle to manipulate the bed to go up and down. That's, I found out about that. That's absolutely unacceptable. Just like the fire chief said, you got equipment, you need people, or people won't make it happen. We can't risk losing our valuable people over something like that. Again, we were hoping to carry this on, but this vehicle is terminal, for lack of a better word. The clutch is shot. Over the years, even though it's an 09 model, not to take shots at previous councils, administrations, it probably could have been bought 3 times what you spent to repair it over the years. Since I've been here, we've probably spent $10,000–15,000 on it, but it's exhausted all livelihood. As you know, we bought a vehicle about a year ago. it's a flatbed for the gooseneck, it's a 350. We're looking at going with a 450. What is the difference, you may wonder? Well, we need a dump bed. You cannot attach a gooseneck to a dump bed because the, structurally, the, what it attaches to is not, it's not gonna be secure enough. So what we need is, we're constantly having to get rocks, dirt, stone. What we're looking at is a high back. I think you may have a photo there. I don't know if you, of the truck itself, but, anyway, it was just a high back dump bed. Did that photo ever get added, Jared? I don't know.
Yeah, it's here.
Okay. That would be what we call a high side dump bed, F-450. We had budgeted, in this capital lease program, $9,000 in, water, $9,000 in solid waste. We had also budgeted, as you all recall, we did our water study, this year. We had budgeted $40,000 for that, for the new well. That actually came in under budget. That leaves us about $10,000. So the thought would be is that we would, $76,000 truck, we put $30,000 down based on those allocations. Finance 46,000 over 5 years, about 5.5% interest. There's no prepayment penalty, about $880 a month. I think about a little $10,000 a year. That payment is set up where it's a one-time per year. Like for example, the police car, it's a one-time payment per year that allocates all those payments. But that is a great way to get equipment. And of course, with interest in our revenue accounts, hopefully that will offset some of that. But the recommendation is just go ahead and buy this vehicle. We've identified, we've reached out to several companies. Again, it's not like trying to buy a F-150 or something like that, or a Honda Accord. These vehicles are very specialized. You could just get them off state bid. We're coming out of COVID, it's still highly competitive to get this stuff. We've tried to get some prices. A lot of these dealers, that they get sold so quickly, they don't even want to waste the time giving you a quote. You know, when are you buying? You buying next week? Yeah, you know, it's gonna be, I gotta take it to my council, it's gonna be 2 weeks. Well, you know, good luck. So anyway, parts, Ford out of Hendersonville, we bought the F-250 water truck through them. I'm waiting for them, we're still negotiating. It should be no more than about $76,000, which is comparable to what we paid for the F-350 flatbed that pulls the, you know, we bought the trailer that pulls the excavators, et cetera. But again, this was a budget expenditure. We're just trying to hold off, but it's just got to the point where we need the vehicle. The other vehicle we have is an F-350, and that's an 09. The other was a 13. This one's exhausted all right, but the other one's just about, but I think we get the end of the year. In fact, as we get in the budget for next year, we'll probably look to replace that, probably through some T-SLOS funds. But anyway, the request is that this referendum, excuse me, this resolution would be to basically approve the purchase, allow us to go through GMA like we did with the police car. We have the money, it's there. Probably, if it's like the way the police car was, they will cut us a check. We will pay the vehicle with that, and then we won't even see the first payment until next year. So, but anyway, that's the plan. And again, not to get ahead of the agenda, the next request would be to surplus this vehicle again. But
Anybody
that is
interested in it?
Well, we'll put it through Gov Deals, and they've been a great successful partner with us as far as liquidating. We sold our properties most recently, $185,000. You know, they helped us sell some of those surplus lots. So, but anyway, again, we've just at the point where we can't wait any longer, and we've got a couple of dealers that have these vehicles, and the request would be that council approves this purchase.
Well, simply from the safety issue alone, I think this is very important purchase. Any other questions from or comments from the council? Okay, questions or comments from our meeting participants? Okay, I'll need a motion to approve the resolution to enter into a capital lease purchase agreement to purchase the Ford F-450 with a dump bed, dual axle, not to exceed $80,000.
On behalf of our Public Works employees, I will make that motion.
Thank you, Diane. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Tony. Discussion. Okay, here we go. All in favor of approving this resolution signify with aye.
Aye.
Unanimously approved. It is a done deal. All right, and as Jason mentioned, the next thing is to consider approval. We have to have a resolution to declare this wonderful truck as surplus.
So moved.
Okay, second.
Second.
Discussed. Okay, all in favor of that resolution, signify by aye.
Aye.
It is, so let it be written, so let it be done, as they say. Okay.
Holly, the previous one for the Public Works, that's 12, that's item 12, is that correct?
I don't know.
12 or 13.
That was number 13. Oh, no, it was number 12, yes. And so 13 was the resolution to declare that as surplus, and maybe we can get a couple $100 off of it, I don't know.
Well, I'd hate to guesstimate, the two Subarus that we had.
I don't ever.
I would have thought we'd have got 5,000 for both of them. We got almost 22,000.
Yeah, that was.
And we were able to use that money to go towards Officer Maloney
Yeah.
Explorers. So,
Maybe
yeah.
some farmer will like that.
Yeah, probably so.
All right, public forum. This is for any kind of general comments that require no action. Does anybody wish to speak? Are y'all having fun out there? All right. With that being said, it is agenda item 15, and I'll need a motion to adjourn.
Down there, our agenda having been successfully completed, I move that we adjourn.
I'll say.
All in favor?
Aye.
And thank you all for coming today.